Happy Sunday to you, everyone. Wherever you find yourself in this world, I hope you're staying safe, and I'm hoping that you are building a dynamic relationship with your dog. Today, I want to talk a little bit about calming signals. What the heck are calming signals? Are dogs able to transmit to us signals that make an angry person calm, make an aggressive dog calm? Are they able to think that through? Is it some form of communication? Can they actually change our emotions through a signal taken within the context of stress or fear? I'm not sure about that, and I got a couple of arguments I want to kind of place with that today. Calming signals. So what the heck are they? Well, the term calming signals was originated with a Norwegian trainer by the name of Turid Ragas. And back in 1996, she wrote a small 78-page book titled On Talking Terms with Dogs, Calming Signals. And it's now been recently republished again. So there's no wonder I've been hearing this term calming signals from so many people and so many trainers. But again, this book, when it was written in the first time back in 1996, there was no experiments, no field studies, nothing to give it support. And so many times when we are trying to believe something, again, like the old saying goes, just because you believe something doesn't make it so, it's this thing called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias, a good example of that is if you walk into a gambling hall and you've learned this little trick of counting cards, and you go in and you win, or you rub a glass a certain way, or you have a lucky rabbit's foot, or you go through all of these little systems and beliefs, and suddenly, wow, you have a great day, you go home with a lot of money. Now you firmly believe that all those things that you did helped you make those winnings. And that's known as confirmation bias. And when I read through this little book, that's what I came across a lot of. And here's my big deal with the whole thing. You know me. I'm very careful about labeling something because the way you label something will affect how you think about that something. And when it comes to dogs, I am very guarded about ever giving them human qualities. You just have to be so very careful because you can fall in that trap. So in other words, when you start thinking an animal can actually transmit, can actually encode in a signal, making you understanding what you were thinking at that moment, how you believe. In other words, theory of mind. We've been over that. When you can attribute the mental state of someone else or their beliefs or their intentionality, you have theory of mind. And we've already stated before in previous videos that that is something unique to humans only. Communication in the wild is more asymmetrical. Dog A, not knowing the state of mind, the emotional state of dog B, sends a signal. And dog B, if it can interpret the signal, will either respond or not as a consequence of receiving that signal. And I'll draw a little example up here on the board here in just a minute. But here's my problem. When you start to think and label things as calming versus what it typically really is, which is really going to be more of an appeasement behavior, more displaced behaviors, aggression deference, so on and so forth. I just don't want people to begin to take even the tiniest steps into believing they own little people in fur coats. Because when you do that, then that's what you expect. If you are that, then you should behave like that. And then we start now wrapping our dogs up in this box of human-like behaviors. And when we expect it and we don't get it, well, then that's when we're probably going to need those calming signals. Because they're just not quite capable of doing what we can do. Thinking the way we can think, having emotions at the levels that we're capable of. If they are, then they certainly don't use it. They don't, and they've never shown in any sort of scientific study at the level that we are capable of. So I always just kind of want to enjoy my dog for what it is, embrace it for what it is, embrace it for what it's capable of doing. So I don't expect more than that. Because that's when you get upset. I don't want that to happen. I want to make sure that all the training and all the behaviors I expect my animal to learn are those that's capable of doing so. That makes it fair for everyone. So let's talk a little bit about these calming signals. So here's a couple examples. Tuareg, when she came up with this system, again, throughout the book, you can tell that this particular author has not spent a lot of time out in the wild. That's your basis. That's your foundation. You have to study wild group living animals in order to draw a comparison to any other group living animals. And you have to be able to have spent thousands of hours studying the spontaneous natural behavior of that animal so that you have a foundation in which to base your beliefs of what is occurring at any given moment. So I'll just kind of hand you a little example here. And I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this tomorrow, by the way. I just want to kind of break the ice on it. Because again, I'm always safeguarding how we label things because I'm worried about people now beginning to think that their dogs are humans and they're not dogs. An example is that when you're walking your dog and you're being approached by someone else with their dog or just them, if your dog is really stressed about that moment, they will start sniffing around on the ground. As though, you see even in brackets, as though they were exploring something. I'm here to tell you, I've evaluated thousands upon thousands of maladaptive animals. Animals who perceive fears at unusually high levels, have unusually high levels of anxiety. I've also evaluated thousands upon thousands of dogs that have none of that. They're extremely socially clear. They're very confident animals. All of their behaviors are within the boundaries of what we call typical canine behaviors within that particular context. And in all of those, never once have I seen or believed that when an animal was fearful of this approaching other animal, that it decided to explore the ground and sniff, that putting its nose on the ground was a good idea. No. Would you? No. What you do is you either freeze at that moment, or as you're moving, you start watching. You need to now determine what is the capabilities of that thing? What weapons does it have? What are my options available to me? Can I flee? Should I display? Or should I just take on the old hawk strategy and immediately just attack this thing? A good offense, a good defense, a darn good offense. But you're watching, you're observing, you're using the sense that you use more than any other sense to learn about your environment so you can adapt to it. You can stay alive in it. You don't put your nose to the ground during that moment. If you put your nose to the ground, you are typically not interested in this thing. You're definitely not worried about it. You care less. I've seen a lot of dogs that were worried and were fearful when I approached them with real dogs and with stuffed dogs that I positioned to give off certain signals that canines are able to interpret. Yeah, rah, 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 or poof, take off as fast as they can to the back of that leash. It was only when I walked away with the real dog or walked away with the fake dog that they then approached and then put their nose quickly to the ground to smell. And what they're trying to do is pick up some sort of identifying scent from this animal. What are you? Are you male? Are you a female? I couldn't really tell at that moment. And what hormones are you giving off? What message can you tell me? Yeah. Was there an anal sac explosion at that moment? What does that tell me? That's when they put their nose to the ground to sort of affirm what they think they see. So all that being said, again, putting my nose to the ground am I supposed to interpret that by me ignoring you and by putting my nose to the ground, that's a calming signal? And that's going to calm down the animal that's approaching? That's going to calm down the human that's approaching by putting the nose to the ground? I'm sure it can, because you certainly don't look like a combatant. But what I'm saying with this thing is that animal in no way, and nothing's been able to prove it up to this point, ever assessed that that animal as a threat, that my putting my nose to the ground will indeed have the end result of calming you down. And again, just using the word calming, that's theory of mind. Are you angry? Another example that is used in the book is raising the paw. Raising the paw. I've told before that if you make a dog sit and you're putting a lot of pressure on that animal, there can be some stress incurred during that training, and they may raise the paw. Sometimes this is known in the scientific world, in the very accurate world, known as an anxiety trigger, meaning that the animal is giving the same posture, the same biological feedback to that stressful moment as what it will during a stressful moment during a hunt. We have, again, I've told you about our dogs. One of our Morkies named Poe, she's like a little bird dog. If you turn her loose out in a yard anywhere, at a park, it doesn't matter where you are. If she sees a squirrel, she sees a bird, any of these animals, she'll race quickly and then raise that paw when they're out of sight, scanning. Or before she does go after them, she'll freeze and raise a paw. Now, that's a throwback from the days in which it was very stressful. That's why we had the physiological stress response. Not just to run away from things, but to be able to catch things. It's stressful for both the hunter and the hunted. And during those moments where that paw comes up, there's no doubt there's stress. Imagine you having to hunt for a living. Imagine whether your next few days on this planet depend upon that very kill. That one. It's stressful. So they pull that little leg up in the air, they freeze for a moment, and just give it a moment thought. Okay, so I'm getting ready to go. Maybe I should move about 5 yards closer. Oh, what's it doing? Wait, what's it doing? Yeah. And then you'll see them make a decision and go. And we took that natural behavior and through artificial reinforcement and things of that sort, artificial selection is the word I'm trying to come up with at the moment here. And we created pointers, dogs that will actually, we trained that, we wanted that, we saw that trait in them, and we kept it for a reason. But again, here's my whole problem, my whole reason for this whole video is when people write in because they see a dog tongue flicking, licking their tongue, yawning, stretching, they are not necessarily saying that they feel me, or this other person or this other dog as some sort of antagonist. Many of these behaviors are there to make sure that you understand that I understand what my position is and what yours is. I was in the military for many years, and I would salute those that were senior to me. I wasn't stressed. No, I wasn't threatened by it. It's a ritual in which you give to those of higher ranking authority. Arcs back to that hierarchy that I'm talking about. You see the same thing when some people bow in their countries. Exact same thing. Are they stressed at that moment? Are they anxiety levels high at that moment? Can be, may not be. Are they interpreting, though, you as a threat, and now this right here is going to calm you down? Many times when animals look away, it's aggression deference. That's what it is. It's an appeasement gesture. Okay, so I froze for a second, saw you approaching me. You're coming right at me, and you seem to be a little hostile at this moment. Okay, what do I have that you want? Maybe I don't have anything. Sorry, my bad. I didn't realize I was standing so tall. So yeah, maybe I'll look a little bit off to the side here. No problem, right? The other animal, of course, it backs away. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. So again, out in the wild, communication operates off of what's called a semiotic basis. You have a signal of some sort, signal, symbol, sign. You have an interpretant of that and a referent. Okay, so let me use a scenario. You have a young puppy who approaches an adult dog, comes up to the adult dog, and the adult dog nips it. Back off. So that is S1, the nip. And the result is R1, the dog goes away, the little puppy runs away. So again, I sent a signal and you responded and went away. The next day, the puppy comes up, but this time, as it approaches, it gets S2, signal 2. This is a growl. Well, the result of that is R0. I don't know what a growl is. But then suddenly, that same mother now nips the dog. So I'm going to add S1 back to S2, and now I get R1. So S1 now gets coupled with S2, the growl with the nip, and the end result is R1, and the puppy leaves. So day 3, puppy walks up, mom growls. That's S2. This is called a signal suite. But we don't need S1 because the pup interprets that that means an impending attack from that older dog. And the why, the referent, because I already had this happen to me yesterday. So again, that's how communication happens with animals. It's asymmetrical. I send it. I don't care if you're approaching me, puppy, what your intentionality is, what your emotional state is at that moment. Are you depressed? Are you happy? Are you playful? It doesn't matter. I don't want you here. I send a signal, you respond. If you fail to respond, I send another signal and couple them together into a suite, or I raise the signal of the first one. That's how it works. So at the end of the day, to have an animal, if I look at Captain and I go, hey buddy, you're not looking so good today in that healing here. You're kind of pulling me some. For him to now try to evoke from inside actions, gestures, sounds, visual or haptic displays to now calm me down would be to assume that I'm actually angry. And maybe I'm not. Maybe I don't need to be calmed down. Maybe I'm under perfect control. Maybe instead what's happening is your gestures, that tone of voice, those actions in the past were coupled with the other tone, the other actions in the past, all equaling one outcome. Therefore, I learned that. And because I learned that, I'm doing this, A, B, or C, to make sure I don't receive X, Y, and Z. So at the end of the day, if it calms the whole situation down, fine. But really what it is de-escalating the situation because I'm simply doing what I'm told to do. And that's how it happens in the wild. No one goes around. Because now if we start saying calming signals, that's like a human. Hey man, calm down, Brian. Don't get your feathers all ruffled. Calm down. Or you tell yourself, man, I just need to calm down. I need to calm down a little bit here. Yeah, here we go. Why don't we just say it for what it really is? These are responses to signals. And if I fail to respond correctly, there could be a follow-up signal from the very thing that's transmitting to me. It could be added to others. It could be increased. But either way, let's just park the emotions out of it at that moment. Because, again, when you start saying calming signals, yeah, no, I don't need to be calm. I do need you to sit, though. I do need you to lie down. So to show me a stress signal, ears back, mouth in a tight face, that only tells me one thing. You're stressed at this moment. I don't need to be calmed down. And you're not trying to calm me. You're trying to work your way through this situation. And now it's my job to now recognize that signal and adjust what I do. All right, so I have an animal here a little bit stressed. Okay, well, some stress is good stress. Like those winds that bend the saplings in the spring. They don't break them, but they make those roots go really deep. So yeah, maybe I just need to add a little bit of spring wind here. I don't want the shear winds, though, that come like in May. Bring a tornado behind and shear the tree right off. So now I back off a little bit. Okay, so at the end of the day, not to split fur. It's just, I'm always careful, and you know me, I'm going to pick out anything that could sway you to believe that animals are giving signals or doing things that they're really not, to try and keep it as scientific as possible, to present evidence and examples that you know and can relate to, so that we all stay grounded and embrace our dogs for what they are. They're dogs. Okay, guys, so keep all this in mind. And tomorrow I'm going to touch just a little bit more. In fact, I'm going to grab a dog out tomorrow and I'm going to demonstrate with it. And we're going to just pay close attention to the signals that the dog gives to me. And we'll see what is the outcome. This will make a little bit more sense to you then. But until then, hey, appeasement gestures, that's what dogs do. That's what tongue flicking is, looking away. Hey, you, meaning I'm trying to defer this aggression. Maybe you can pick on the guy next to me over here. He needs to be picked on. Yeah, go pick on him. Trying to get out of that situation, using options available to me that nature gave me. But what I'm not doing is I'm not assessing your state of mind at this moment, whether you're angry, whether you're hostile, because you don't like me, because the situation is something that you're not finding favor with, and therefore I need to calm you down. No, leave that to humans. Humans need to learn how to do that a little bit more than what they're doing lately. Okay, guys, so when I get out a dog tomorrow, I think all this will make a little bit more sense to you. But in the meantime, then, just go with it what it is. Displacement behaviors, appeasement, aggression, deference. Stick with science. Stick on the road here. Stick with all the stuff that we know, because we've been able to observe wild animals and pull all this thing in together here with what our domestic dogs do. Okay, go ahead the rest of your day, make a great training day out there while you're at it, and make sure that you remain safe in what you do and provide a little social support to not just to your animals, but maybe to your neighbors and to your other friends. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.